Welcome to 2016 Presidential Candidate Interviews. Today I am interviewing George Bailey. Mr. Bailey is running in the Republican Party. Hello, Mr. Bailey, and welcome to the interview. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. Thanks for having me on your program.
Good. Are you ready for some easy icebreaker questions so the listeners can get to know you?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Can you describe your family and your home life?
I was born in East Texas into a Christian environment. My father was an ordained Christian minister, and I have been in the Judeo-Christian church all my life. I'm also an ordained Christian minister with 55 years experience. And my core values and my positions on the issues that are President of the United States of America, they are founded basically in the principles of the Holy Bible and the teaching of God's Word as a practicing Christian.
Can you describe your employment and your work history?
I have 55 years of experience as a senior pastor in the Judeo-Christian church. A portion of that, 12 years I spent as a chaplain in the United States Air Force. It includes my academic background and teaching as a dean of students, a dean of education in the collegiate area. I taught in the public school system. I'm a veteran from the military. I spent 23 years in law enforcement and corrections and the criminal justice system. I served 5 years as a juvenile judge and a director of domestic violence. And so my background is been focused on working and helping people and helping resolve issues that are something complex, yet they are to find solutions to enable people to be encouraged to move toward a lifestyle that is forgiving in the community rather than takers in the community.
What are your hobbies and your interests?
I like to play golf. I lift weights 3 times a week. I walk. I love reading, especially my background is in social studies and political science. And I love history. I watch the History Channels a lot. Sports. I pay for my education with athletics. And so I've been focused to stay in good shape because it's very important. And for the most part, I like to spend quality time with my wife since our children are all grown. And we go sometimes just shopping and just viewing and just walking and spending quality time with each other.
Do you have a favorite place to eat out, to dine out?
Yes, home. I'm a very good cook. My mother taught me how to cook at an early age. Then while I was in college, I had the opportunity to serve as assistant chef at a country club in Waco, Texas. And I love cooking, and so for the most part, I do most of the cooking at home. So I know that when I prepare a meal, I know that it's nutritional, and we're supposed to be, and it tastes good. And I enjoy my family sitting down to eat the food that I prepare. So my favorite place to eat is at home.
Do you have a favorite fast food joint?
No, I don't. Even when because it was important for me to stay in good condition because I played all 4 sports while I was in college, and we knew to stay away from any type of the fast food because it was so full of the high cholesterol and things like that. So again, I guess you really just pressing. I guess I would look at Piccadilly as one of the restaurants that we generally go to a lot of times after going to church on Sunday mornings.
Okay. Do you have a favorite junk food, maybe something you wouldn't want your wife to see you eating at 2 a.m. in the morning?
I ice cream. That's my weakness is ice cream.
Okay. How about any favorite TV shows or movies?
Sports for the most part. The investigative channels, historical channels, then I guess my favorite to stay in those kind of areas for information and things like the news, the local and national news. But for the most part of the historical channels and things like that, I like to focus on that.
Okay. Do you have any pets?
Not yet. No more. All of my animals and everything. We are living in the state of Mississippi right now, and all of my animals and things are in Texas. So we don't have any animals at this particular time at our home here in Mississippi.
Okay. And the final getting to know you question. Do you have a song that might describe who you are, or that you would consider like a motto or a life anthem?
Yes. As a practicing Christian and my years and serving as a senior pastor in the chaplain of the United States Air Force and dealing with people and their concerns, one of my favorite hymns is I Will Trust in the Lord. And that kind of like a motto or emblem for me to focus on. And it reminds me to never put my trust in myself but in God, and to conduct myself in the context of what God has ordained for me to be as a human being and a practicing Christian. I will trust in the Lord.
Okay. Time for the serious questions. Why are you running for president?
I started looking at our condition in our nation about 10 years ago, real seriously, and began to look at it not from the standpoint of a Republican or a Democratic or any other political party, but looking at how our nation has transformed and receded from the standards in which it was founded on in terms of our Constitution, our core values found in the principle of God. And as I began to look at every institution that exists, there I found none that was not experiencing some form of corruption, and particularly the Christian church had lost its ability to be what Jesus Christ left it to be, the salt of the earth. And I observed a lot of our ministers, particularly those who come out of seminary, and a lot of the what I consider to be considered seasoned pastors, that they began to embrace what their congregations were demanding because of their salaries that they wanted to lose or being fired. So they began to consider what was important, political correctness rather than standing for the truth, and be willing to accept the consequences for standing for the truth. And when I began to talk to my fellow brothers and sisters in the Judeo-Christian church, I was shocked to find out just how sad this situation had become. And so I began to look at what is it that our nation needs more than anything else. And it is very obvious to me our nation as a whole needs to return to our core values that are found on the Word of God, our Constitution as the law of the land, and it began to embrace those principles that made us great and enabled us to become the second, in terms of a nation, we became the most popular nation and the fastest growing nation in terms of wealth and land and finances, education standards. All those things made us great, and particularly, especially because we refused to turn our back on the nation of Israel, as God had promised us that those who love Israel he would love, and those who hate Israel he would hate, and he would prosper those who would stand to support Israel. And America did that, and America became very wealthy, very strong, a mighty army, fielded by our enemies and loved and supported by our allies. Over the last 25 or 30 years, we have done just the opposite or the reverse. And so our enemies no longer fear us, and our enemies has lost the respect for us in the 21st century because we have proven we are not willing to keep our word. And so we are a nation standing at a crossroad, and we have to we need to make a decision. We should make a decision in 2016 whether we're going to continue to follow the leadership or corrupt leadership in our nation, or will we return to God and follow the commandments of God. I'm praying that as when people look at my platform and when people talk to me, that they know for certain I am not running against anyone, a Republican or Democrat. I am bringing a message from God, and I'm praying that our nation will hear the message and return to God and begin to live as a godly people under the authority of God. If we do not, it will not matter whether it's Republican or Democrat or Green Party or Tea Party be elected or candidate be elected. If our nation will not return to God, we are demanding God immediately wrath upon us, because since 1960 to the present, we have proven to God we have turned our back on God on everything. We would have now a president in office that has declared himself basically to be God in such a way that everything that God has commanded, he disagrees with. And everything that is about word and deed, to the point he even has misquoted God's word. And I'm saddened by this, because we were not due diligent to do what we're supposed to do, and it would have prevented such a personality from ever being elected to the highest office in the United States of America, the president. And so when I look at all of the candidates who are running for the office of president, for the most part, they are more important to them to try to destroy or demonize each other or destroy each other's character. I'm not interested in it. I'm not running against anyone. I'm bringing God's message. And it is imperative for me, as an ordained Christian minister and a practicing Christian, to make it clear to the American voters what God has said and what God will do and what God will not do. No one else in the Democratic or Republican Party candidates are speaking on such issues. They are asking, for the most part, that the American people vote for them, but they're refusing to take up positions that are right before us, like on abortion, border security, immigration, budget, economy, civil rights, education, energy and oil, foreign policy, government reform, gun control, health care, social security, tax reform, traditional marriage, and these like lightning statements and they avoid them because they are afraid to take a position, because they're afraid that if they take a position, they'll lose the voters' support. I'm not. I have been preaching and teaching on these positions for years, and I'm willing to face anyone and to take a stand on these positions, because I have been doing this for the last 55 years. And so our nation needs to have someone who will take a position. And whenever you take a position, it makes it very important to people. They are going to agree with you or disagree with you. But our nation needs to have someone in office who's willing to take a stand, who's willing to speak the truth, who's willing to represent the truth, and who's willing to share their positions based on Scripture, based on life experiences, based on core values, what our nation was founded on. And I don't see any of our candidates willing to do that. And so I have decided, prayed over it. My wife and I prayed over it, thought about it. I said, I'll wait and see what someone will pick up the mantle and be like one of my favorite contemporary 21st century president, Ronald Reagan. Take a position and stand for it. and people will respect you even in this world. I don't see any of our candidates doing that, and I'm running on bringing the message of God and praying that our nation will come to its senses and decide to come back to God and stop trying to live without God. Stop trying to live their family without God. Stop trying to be politicians without God. Stop trying to govern without God. Stop trying to have a relationship with Israel without God. Stop trying to have a relationship with stop being afraid of our enemies. Right now, Islam does not fear us anymore. We've seen all of the murders and the loss of our lives of our soldiers in our nation because our politicians are afraid to take a stand against Islam. They're afraid to speak against Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. And I tell them the truth has nothing to do with color. It has nothing to do with gender or ethnicity. It has to do that the truth is colorless, and it takes a position. And I believe, and I'm confident, since I spent a lot of time in research as a historian, to look at these positions. God's Bible will outlast corruption. It always has and always will. I want our nation to come back and be a nation that God smiles upon, a nation that God respects, a nation that the world will respect because we are God, a nation. We treat people with respect. We will do what's right by securing our sovereign borders. We will do right about all the issues that are before us, and ask our congressmen and elected officials, both city, state, county, and federal, to stop demonizing each other, stop fighting each other, and learn to work together for the common good of all the people. I can bring that. I'm capable and have a background to bring that type of administration to our country, so that we can overcome the kind of things that are dividing us. I look as a nation and as a Christian pastor. The Judeo-Christian Church is at fault for most of the major problems in our nation, because when it had the opportunity to stand for what is right in the areas of slavery, in the areas of racism, in the areas of hate and malice and avarice, prejudice, all these things that divide us as a people, as the Judeo-Christian Church failed to take a position. And even today, where are the Christian ministers? Who are taking position? Who are representing all these killings, these murders across our nation, of our officers being killed, young men and young women being killed? All these things are happening. Where is the Christian church? Where are the Christian leaders? Why aren't they speaking out against these things? Even in our state right now, our Christian, the Christian leadership in the state of Mississippi, both black and white, are afraid to speak out and take a position with the Confederate flag. Our governor's afraid to speak out. The only one we've had to speak out is myself, one of the Speaker of the House, the Secretary of State, and once that, those of the few of us have spoken out and taken a position for rightness and for holiness. But the rest of us are trying to figure out which is politically safe for me to take a position. We need to move from that. We need to move to people who really take a stand, and whatever the consequences may be, negative or positive, at least the people know we took a stand. And that's why I have placed my name before the general public and the electorate, the voters, for the office of president. I will bring that type of leadership to our nation. It's needed. And if we don't get that, I am afraid of what the future lies for America if America refuses to not return back to God.
Okay, I think you've kind of hit on a lot of the questions I was going to ask, so I might majorly adjust this a little bit. Well, adjust it.
Okay.
Let me see here. What abilities do you think you bring to the office of president?
Will you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. What abilities do you bring to the office of president?
I have 47 years of experience as an administrator, both in as a senior pastor, collegiate administrator, corporate manager. I bring a background that withstand the most invasive investigation about my character, my integrity. Those who know me, both my friends as well as my enemies, know I will take a stand, and I fear this. I'm willing to suffer the consequences. I won't run. I won't give in. I will not water down core values. I will take a stand for what is right, no matter what the circumstances may be, no matter what the subject may be. And I believe and I'm confident that our people in America are looking for this. They tried everything else and they found out it failed. They are looking for someone who is stable, who has the background, academic background. I have 3 earned PhD degrees, and I worked in an environment to enable me to help people, to be a leader, to be a counselor, to be a mentor, and I'm confident that these skills will enable me to be a very good president for the United States of America.
Are there any presidents that you have a favorable opinion of and who you would want to do things like? If yes, who and why?
Abraham Lincoln and Ronald Reagan.
Okay. Is there anything specifically those two did?
Abraham Lincoln knew that the position he was taking to try to keep our nation from a civil war, he knew that the decision he was making, that he was placing his life in jeopardy, and yet he took the stand to protect our nation and to try to hold it together and keep it from going to civil war. But he knew that the position he was taking was placing his life in jeopardy. Ronald Reagan did similar when he stood up against Gorbachev and the Russians coming out of the Civil War, the Cold War, that when he made the statement, Mr. Gorbachev, bring these walls down, he knew that the chances are that we could have gone to war. He also knew that when he told Gaddafi that if he did not dismantle his program for developing a nuclear system to threaten America, and that when he decided to use the bomb to fire upon his home in eviction to his son Gaddafi, dismantle his system for mass destruction and send it to America. Even though a lot of people criticized Ronald Reagan, he made it very clear he was a Christian, and he was not going to back down from or water down his relationship with God, not what he was going to allow people to intimidate him to speak less of the Christian faith. And for those two men, when I go back and look at their lives and look at their readings and their accomplishments, I'm very impressed, and I have tried my best, and I'm committed to model myself with those type of personalities.
Are there any presidents you do not have a favorable opinion of? Are there any things that they did that you would not want to do?
Yes, our present president, Barack Hussein Obama. And as an African American, as I myself do, when people hear me talk, they say, well, why are you so hard on him? I said, first of all, he's a liar. The second thing is, I said, he misquotes scriptures. And the third thing is, he says things about God is not true. And it proclaims to be a Christian at the same time. He is, I call him Pied Piper, the contemporary Pied Piper, the contemporary Antichrist, because everything that God says is true. He says it's a lie. Everything God says is a lie. He says the truth. As a practitioner, he says he's a Christian, but he supports Planned Parenthood. the slaughter of innocent babies. The list just goes on, the litany just goes on. And so when people ask me to speak and they ask me about him, I said, as far as I'm concerned, I said, he told you the truth, you just believe it. He said his intent was to systematically change America. People did not understand that, and he hid his real core values for who he really is behind prominent people of respect like John Cole and Powell. Many of the other respected congressmen and senators to hide who he really is. And once he got elected, or in the process, he was able to get those same people to support him to keep the news media from investigating him like they did all other previous presidents. He is the first president that news media would not do an invasive investigation about who he really is. And as a consequence, we do not know today he has a live birth certificate. He went ahead and sealed his academic background. There's so much secret surround him. And anything something come out that's negative, he always support. And anything that's positive, he's always against it. And so he would be the most foremost president to date that I have negative views and reaction to. There's nothing I can think of to date that he has done that's positive.
Are there any functions of government you'd like to decrease or even abolish?
Yes, the National Transportation Department, I would replace it with the military. It's too much politics, and so that for the sake of people, I would go back also and reduce the duplicity with the FBI, Homeland Security. We were doing this well without Homeland Security. I would have the FBI to be reestablished as it was before, with the support of the military, and to eliminate those types of institutions. I will reduce the Department of Education and send it back to the states as it was in the beginning of our nation. I believe and I'm convinced that the states would do a better job with our academic programs than what is happening, because even right now, with the federal government involved, is trying to force feed us with a system that was developed by political components that is not good for our academic community. As a former law enforcement officer and a juvenile judge, I looked over years to see what has happened to our nation, that we're building more criminal correction facilities, and we will incarcerate more of our children in the last 25 years in the history of our nation. While our children, since the last 5 years to 10 years, most of the major crimes that are committed in America, they're being committed by people under the age of 25 years old. That says something about our core values. It says something about the lack of our parents' parental investment in the commitment to our children. It says something about our elected officials. It says something about the Judeo-Christian church, that we have this major dropout of our young people in criminal participation, drugs, teenage pregnancies. These violent crimes are being committed. It's a reason for that, and it points back to the lack of parental participation, the Judeo-Christian church, our elected officials, the academic community, the law enforcement, the criminal justice system. We have to do a better job, because we are passing on a generation of young people that will not be accountable to pick up the mantle and be good citizens and people who will be able to help provide a safer environment for everyone to live in.
Are there any areas of government that need maybe a new department or a new this or that, or are there areas of government you would actually like to increase?
Not as what I view as today. My focus is, as I said earlier, is to reduce a lot of the government control. In fact, that's one of the things I want to see: limited government on our people. I want to see a fair tax system placed on our system. I want to see the elimination of the IRS. We need to stop paying a government institution to mistreat our people and terrorize our people. I want to remove the IRS so that when people are going through difficult times, that if they should having a family problem or financial problem, they shouldn't have to lose their homes in America. They shouldn't have to lose their job. Their job shouldn't have their finances shouldn't have to be taken from them. They shouldn't have to live in fear of their own government. And as far as I looking at the IRS, and that's what it does. When even when I was in law enforcement, I saw people I used to talk to IRS agents. I said, how can you be an American and you take a salary from a government that treat Americans like criminals, and people living in fear? When they say IRS, people just start shaking. People have had nervous breakdowns. People have had heart attacks because of the mistreatment of IRS. I will work to eliminate the IRS and allow our people to live in a nation where it's treated with respect. And when people have a financial situation, it's a solution to be brought to them and share with them without them fearing losing their homes, their jobs, and their income being taken away from them.
Can you describe your stance on taxation?
I believe our tax. When I went back and researched how the taxes came into existence, it's quite interesting that it was not a need until the coming to the end of World War I and coming to World War II that the government decided, the senator, the elected officials in the federal government decided to use this system to be able to generate enough income to pay for the war. What happened is after that, they generated so much money, the greed mentality became visible, and they decided to keep it. And since then, they come up with all these new laws and everything I have not found in the last 35, 40 years. When you talk to a tax lawyer or anyone with IRS or anyone who's talking about taxes, that they can always give you the same answer to the same question. It's so complex until lawyers have to go to school. They go back to school and have to train to try to help their client. This should have to be in America. We should have a system in place where we can provide for our national needs, our military and things like this, and be done with a fair tax. And it can be done in such a way that the abuse and the corruption and everything is not generated from men and women of greed.
Describe your stance on the abortion and pro-choice issue.
As a practicing question, people ask me, so I have a short term, a short version, a long term. I'll give you short term. I said, if God says no, he meant no. If God says yes, he meant yes. God created us in his image, and he set these commandments in place to protect us from ourselves and to enable us to live a holy life on his authority. So when a person asked me about it, is the fetus alive? They said, yes. Did you kill it? They said, yes. I said, then you committed murder, no matter whether you took the Hippocratic oath as a doctor. God gave life, and there is no place in the Bible God supports this heinous crime. He said, go and replenish your likeness. And whenever you look at Planned Parenthood and their mission statement, or you talk to people who support this concept of slaughter, there's no justification you can find in the Bible There is no justification you can find historically in any nation that will murder its on and be able to be a nation that presents itself as a nation of core values. And so I tell people when I look at it, I say, my whole concept, the very people who support abortion, they don't kill their own kids. I say, here's my position. If you want me to respect you on whatever you do, whether I agree with you or not, why didn't you murder your own children? It gets very quiet. I said, but you're very interested in murdering other people's kids. Tell me why it's so important to have a child aborted. I said, after 55 years of ministry, I've never had a woman or a family to come in my office and say, Pastor Bailey, we want to come in and testify and tell you just how much and how glad we are that we murdered our baby today. We want to tell you just that we enjoyed and knowing that how the abortion took place of the having the brains of our baby sucked out of his head, the arms and legs cut off, and the child is murdered without even giving a pain shot. And but I've had in the last 55 years numerous of women come to me crying, asking will God forgive them. They want to get married, they want to have a family. Will they counsel? Would I counsel them if they told their husband the truth that they had an abortion? And but I've never had no one to come in my office shouting and rejoicing that they were glad that they had an innocent child life taken. And so when I asked people to tell me what are the benefits in America to have children slaughtered, what are the benefits? And to date, no one has given me credible evidence of benefits of murdering an innocent child. And so for me, as a practicing Christian and one of God's anointed, I take a stand that it's a criminal act. It's against the will and pleasure of God. And God will hold those people who participate in such a criminal act, He will hold them accountable.
What role should our military play in the world?
God has given America great abilities. When we use those abilities under His authority, we have shown to the world that we are great leaders. Our enemies fear us, and our allies respect us. When we stand up, and I'm telling you, for the last month or so in the Middle East, well, not in the Middle East, but in the European area, we're the only nation that have people fighting and willing to put their lives in jeopardy in any circumstances to come to America. So it's something here that they know we have that no other nation have. And so my attitude is, I want them to come, but I want them to come legally. And we can do that. We have stability. We have a sound education system. We have advanced technology. We have an opportunity for people to come and live free, practice their religion, to practice their faith. They practice freedom of speech and all those things that our Constitution guarantees. When I was doing my research, over 300 nations have used the Constitution of the United States of America as a guideline to write their own Constitution. Why? Because the first thing it does, it honors God. The second thing it does, it honors the sacredness of human life. And they, for people who are democratic, or people who want freedom, and people who want to be respected, want to live their families in a healthy environment where our sovereign borders are being protected by a strong military. We have strong ethics. Our core values are based on the Word of God. Our constitution, the land of the law. People know they're going to be treated with equality regardless of their ethnicity or gender. They know that in America there are opportunities. We've shown over the last 25 or 30 years, people come to America that was broke. In 5 or 10 years, they are now multi-millionaires. They could not do that in no other nation. And so we still have the opportunity Only thing we need to do is stop trying to do it by ourselves or trying to follow corrupt leadership and turn back to our core values and begin to live like we as we established to be by our founding fathers and be the nation that we're capable to be. God is waiting to bless us to be that.
How would you handle immigration and border security?
The first thing, it's a question. When people say, well, we have all these different ways of ending immigration or being able to do what is right. I said, the first, it doesn't matter how clever your proposal may be. When I look at historical the condition in which we're in today and how we got here, if we had 70 years ago, if our elected politicians had been due diligent to do what it's supposed to do, we wouldn't even be talking about that today. The first thing we have to do is close the border. As long as it's like if you don't mind to use this term as a country boy, if the bucket that you're dropping down at the well have holes in it, there's no need of you trying to be, there's no need of you being angry or upset that by the time you pull it up, most of the water has disappeared. You got to get a new bucket, or you got to seal the holes in it. This is the thing with America. Until we seal the border and make sure and then hold Mexico accountable also. So you're a partner in this. You are a neighbor. And we hold you accountable to do what you're supposed to do on your side of the border as what we are doing on this side of the border. We're going to have a partnership because you are benefiting from your people coming over to our nation and getting good jobs or whatever job they're doing and sending money back to your nation. As I'm talking right now, Mexico doesn't have a problem with because in terms of the economy, because we support the economy with illegal immigrants. And so we are a nation of immigrants. And I want anyone who wants to come to America to come, but I want them to come legally. I'm against anything and any other procedure to correct this problem. Once we close the borders, then I believe that with men and women of good judgment, people who are poised and have the ability to talk to each other rather than at each other, can sit down and work out a system and a plan to take care of those who are here and those who want to come, and do it in a manner that it respects the individual. It gives them hope, and it enables people to come to our nation in such a way that makes them proud that they didn't steal their way in, they earned their way in. And I believe that if we start, first of all, by closing our border, that's the first and important step we need to do before we do anything else about immigration or illegal immigration.
How do you perceive the issues of race and discrimination in America? Do we still face challenges? And what would you do with these issues?
As I mentioned earlier, the fault of the problem that we have in racism that exists still in our country, in the state of Mississippi and in the South, the Civil War is still being fought. The Mason-Dixon line is still alive and well. If the Judeo-Christian church had been due diligent, again, as Jesus Christ left it to be the salt of the earth, and had taken a stand against these concepts, the same people who were coming here from England, France, and other nations, running from persecution, that were victims, they got here in America and became victimizers. Same people. And we should show that only the Puritans were the first ones who stood up against enslavement of the African American, the attempt with the Native Indians, or anyone else. And the church, even today, you can't get anywhere. You start talk about racism, the leadership of the Judeo-Christian church, both in the black and white churches, They developed what I call controlled amnesia, and they participated in what I call an act of an ostrich. They put their head in the ground, but they leave their anatomy exposed to the world to see. They're afraid. They won't take a stand. They're afraid of losing these jobs that provide these positions as senior pastor in these gated communities and all the benefits that goes with it. They're afraid of the criticism. They're afraid of their congregation, and they won't speak out against it. And so until the Judeo-Christian church stand up and speak out against people like Farrakhan of Islam community, Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, people who promote hate, the Ku Klux Klan, anyone, it doesn't matter, race or whoever it is, no matter what color, the Black Panthers, whoever it is that is promoting racism or hate, the church has to take leadership. And until the church takes leadership in America, what you see right now is getting worse. It's going to get worse. And so when people ask me to come and speak, I say, where are your pastors? Where are your Christian leadership? Where are the ministers? What are you writing? I don't see you on TV. I don't see you in the jail. I don't see you writing in a position people against this what I call an ingrained cancer in America. And it's not going nowhere because it's an institution. And until the Christian church takes leadership, we're not going to, this probably going to get worse, sadly, so it's going to get worse. And so I'm speaking out. I'm asking other pastors here in Jackson, Mississippi, and if I ask to come and speak, stand up with me. God called you to stand up to for the right. The truth has never been popular. God didn't call us to be popular. He called us to be faithful. And unless we take leadership, how can we expect the congregation to take a fellowship? And so I'm hardcore on the Christian ministers, the Jewish ministers. Anyone who says God is the head of our life and send our joy, I am criticizing them all over this country. It's not made me a popular person, but I'm hoping to provoke them to stop being afraid, stop waiting to see what the political climate is going to be, and stand up and trust God. Because you're preaching one message, but you're living something that's contradictory. And to me, I hate that because it gives people a false impression, and people embrace that, and they're being led astray. And so until the Judeo-Christian church, in my opinion, based on what I have observed in the last 55 years or 56 years, based on historical evidence, if the church does not take leadership, we cannot expect our political leaders or anyone else to take leadership and do what is right by America and the world.
What role should the federal government play in healthcare?
In healthcare?
Correct.
I believe, let me start first with the church again. We should have, again, the church is at fault. It should have never got to this point because God gave us a solution, both in the Old and New Testament, how to take care of the sick, the widow, the orphan, those in need. And he said the tithing and the offering, if you give it on a willing basis, on a regular basis, God will open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing we cannot withhold. What he's simply saying there in layman terms is, if you give to me what is already mine, I'll give back to you in such a way you'll be able to take care of the widows, you'll be able to take care of the sick and shut in, you'll be able to take care of the orphan. When you go back and look at history, when we look at welfare came in after under the administration of Roosevelt. Now, what we need to look at is what were we doing in America before then? In my neighborhood, I grew up in East Texas. When someone got sick, it did not matter whether the ethnicity or gender. When they needed help, the church was there. When they needed that barn to be built, it was the church that did it. When they needed children to be taken care of, or when the parents died it was the church people that took those children and reared them. They didn't turn them over to the government. And so, if we could get back to that concept, to the church doing what it's supposed to do, is to eliminate the need for welfare by the federal government. What the federal government has done is create another institution. And the institutions are called entitlements. Right now, on entitlements, both the politicians make a lot of money because they make promises by using the taxpayer dollars to fulfill political commitments. And those who are the recipients have become expected of it to do for the federal government to feed them, to clothe them, to educate them. They just sit around. They have more babies. That means out of wedlock. I mean, I get more money from the federal government. This has to stop. And it doesn't matter whether it's the white or black or Hispanic. It doesn't matter what the ethnicity may be. If you participate in this kind of conduct, it has to stop. We need to stop misusing or taking advantage of taxpayer dollars to take care of lazy people.
Okay. What priority would you give repair of infrastructure? By infrastructure, I mean roads, power grid, anything along those lines. And what role should the federal government have in maintaining infrastructure?
In the infrastructure, and one of the books I've written 8 books. 2 of them are published right now. One is called America Could Be Beautiful, and the second one has the pulpit and the Judeo-Christian Church Lost Its Relevancy. Those books are available on at Amazon.com and Barnes and Nobles, I think Books A Million, and several of the Christian bookstores. And I've outlined what we should be doing to improve not only our roads, but also to increase a healthy environment in terms of jobs and etc. The one thing I call it the business web. When we look back at our history again and look at early Europe, they didn't have many roads. They used waterways, canals. We could take a lot of pressure off the highway and the cost what it is to maintain, because a lot of our old bridges and everything, they have not been repaired. If we would develop the usage of the waterways, all our lakes, and connect those waterways and rivers across the United States of America and the inland the United States of America. Can you imagine how many jobs that would create in terms of the boating industries, the real estate along these waterways, trap systems to receive overflow from when floods come through, can set up a sprinkler system for areas that are in drought, like in California and parts of Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, that when those times come, you can transfer water in reserve areas to those areas, so farmers and people, lives, stocks, and things like that can still be healthy. They can move forward and plan for a future for themselves and their families. The forest fires that we have across America, if you had those sprinkler systems in place, those areas would be already saturated with water, and when we have lightning storms or people who intentionally set fires, we could reduce the amount of damage and loss of homes and lives and property, and we had a system like that in place. And we can do it, plus it would produce over some $2 billion a year for income, for jobs, and these kind of jobs would not be something temporary. They would be longevity. But until people are stop thinking about themselves and the selfish motives and begin to use the intelligence to do what's best for everyone, these kind of concepts will not come forth. But I have that plan has been researched it, and the kind of benefits it would produce is mind-boggling. And so that's one of the things to do. But take the amount of usage, because right now 80% of our produce, anything that comes across on the road with these 18 wheelers, I used to drive them. They can't that kind of weight on our highways. It's going to be a continued thing of being repaired because the weight, and we're having more and more of these vehicles on the highway. So if we reduce a lot of the movement of produce as well as recreation from the highways to waterways, then that would give us time to be able to repair the bridges, and it would take a lot of the stress and the repairs and the finances we haven't used to repair our highways today.
Where do you stand on the issue of personal privacy and the need to protect our nation from terrorism? A lot of people think there's a conflict between maintaining privacy and liberty and then keeping an eye out on the terrorists.
Excuse me. For me personally, there's nothing I need to hide. My life is an open book. It has been like that for 55 years. I understand for those who want that type of privacy, or someone who's participated in some type of activity that they don't want the federal government or law enforcement to find out what they're doing. But for me, I don't have no problem with that. If it's going to make our nation safer, as a law enforcement officer, as a military person, I would rather fight the war on that land rather than here. And so, for me, whatever we need to do to protect Americans, we need to do that. When I look back at our system, and that's one of the major problems in having an open society. We have an open society. That's why the terrorists have, excuse me, my allergies and my asthma. But let me just share this with you that that's why we've been taken advantage of. If you notice, anything that 9/11 and all of the destruction, even today, that are being done to us as Americans, they're using our technology. They're driving our vehicles. We taught them how to fly the airplanes. They flew into the Pentagon, into the towers in New York, and the other. We taught them. They have no facilities to produce that type of technology to build that type of weaponry airlines. They came here and under the guise of they want to be American, and we taught them how to kill us. We're still teaching them how to kill us. And finally, I heard just a month ago, the former President Bush Jr. made a statement. He said, we have to stop basically trying to get along with our enemy, because they realized to us that when we tried to get along with them and tried to find ways to appease them, they consider us being weak. He said, we're going to have to kill them. Well, that's been true all along. You just did not do it when you were the president and finished the job. And as the present president, instead of bringing the people home, his father has gotten worse. So any presidential candidate who tell you that we can solve the issues with ISIS and the problem in the Middle East without going to war, they're telling you a lie. We cannot solve the problem that exists in the Middle East with negotiations. What we're about to do with this deal with Iran, the nuclear deal, it's pathetic. Iran is still the same people that the Bible describes. They are the Assyrians. They're not going to change. They still hate us. They will always hate us because we love and support Israel, and we are godly people. And no matter how much money we spend on, how many days we spend in negotiations with our enemy, they will always hate us. And until America come to that sense that they realize this is our enemy, and our enemy is made a commitment that they'll do anything to kill us. Look how many people, how many of our soldiers been sent back home to us in drape coffin, coffin in a drape American flags. Has it changed anything that our enemy love us anymore? How much money have we spent in the last 20 years that we've sent to the Middle East? Has our enemy loved us before that? They still hate us. They will continue to hate us. We need to stop acting a fool. And instead, I'm saying, okay, we're going to keep our taxpayer dollars and we will help those who are our friends and stop sending money to our enemies and promoting them to help them to murder us. And so for me, this is where I look at it, the fact of information in front of me. You got to make a decision. You got to go to war. And if you're not willing to kill your enemy, you better be sure that the enemy is willing to kill you.
Okay. Be a forecaster of sorts. Predict two major problems facing our country in the future that very few people or maybe no one at all is talking about. What would you do to prepare America for it?
Be honest. Tell people the truth. Show them the documentation in the Holy Bible. Show them the documentation and the secular historical data. Spend quality time with people and lay the facts out in front of them. I have found out for the most part when people are confronted with the real facts and the data, and they can go back and investigate and look at it for themselves, most often they'll make the right decision. Where we are in a nation right now, our people's been led for so many years with our lies until many of them don't recognize the truth. When we did Obama, with the liberal black community and the black church, the black congressional elected officials, elected a man because of color. And elected him because we've been waiting so long to see whether an African black man or woman could be elected on their credentials and on their character. Until when he stood up, they didn't investigate his character and integrity or the lack thereof. They voted for him because he's black. We see the same thing that's happening now with Donald Trump and the evangelical Bible Belt. We see this past Sunday, the pastor for the Liberal University, now he's not the pastor, but he's the president, that succeeded his father, that he decided that Donald Trump is the most advanced man or a statesman in history. And when you start seeing, and so what has happened is the white or Caucasian community is doing the same thing with Donald Trump as the black community did with Obama. And look what the carnage is. And until we are electing people and supporting people based on character, integrity, and intelligence and experience rather than ethnicity or gender or color, we're going to continue to repeat the same scenario, but we're expecting different results. And so what I would do to warn America about the future, get intelligent. Stop listening to what other people are telling you to do. Take time to do research. You don't have to go to the library like you used to. You can go to your computer and sit down and find out facts for yourself. Stop following people because the crowd is following them. Make a decision that you stay on a principle and core values. Look what's best for what's best for America, not just for something for a political party or an individual or a group. Do what's right for America and make a decision that you're not going to water down your value system. You won't run, you won't give in, you won't give up, you won't give out, and you are not participating in any kind of activity that you know is wrong. And when people see that type of character and integrity in the individual, I'm convinced people will stand up and say, you know what, he's right. This is how we got in the mess we're in right now, because from 1960 to the present, we've been following corrupt leadership. It's time for us as a nation to come back to God and our core values and get ourselves together. Then we can lead, not only be a leader in America, but we can be a leader to the world.
Okay. Everybody has things they're really good at and things they're not so good at, strengths and weaknesses. What are some of the things you may not be so good at, and what would you do to make up for those, to compensate for them?
Oh, boy. Well, One of them, I have no need to try to compensate. I don't lie, and I don't. You can look at me when I tell you something, I mean it, and so I have no desire to compensate for that because that's my character, my integrity. I have been doing this for most of my life. In terms of recognize I'm talking to you. My wife tells me, and this is her.
Put her on the phone. We should.
She said, when we get ready to talk about the interview, she said, George, don't be too firm, and that's one of the things I am. And my children, they said, Dad, when you were growing up, when we were little, we thought you reared us like you were as a military officer, as well as being a Christian minister, as well as being a law enforcement officer. I said, I know. I said, but I would ask you a question. When you think back over the way I reared you, do you see now how much I really truly love you when you were rolling your eyes at me, and when you think I was being the meanest person on the face of earth, that what I was trying to protect you is what I saw in the streets. I didn't want my children to be exposed to drugs, and my daughters to be exposed to rape or deciding to participate in premarital sex or any of those things. I saw a lot of young people involved in it, and saw parents crying, and saw the children being murdered, and children incarcerated. And it was my job to be the head of the household. So when I said no, I know I could see it in your eyes. Oh man, this preacher, this cop, this judge, all this incorporating. You don't allow us to do anything. I said, but look at your albums and all the pictures I took, and what do you see there? I said, it's only 7 times you see me in the albums. I said, I gave y'all 6 full picture albums. And my older daughter asked a question. She said, we've been asking our stuff. Dad, you know you were not there a lot of times. We went out at our events where we wanted you to be there and other parents there. And I paused. I said, okay, if I'm in pictures on 5-7 times on all 6 albums. Who do you think took the pictures? And tears started rolling down her eyes. She said, you never thought about it. I said, all those pictures your daddy took. Sometimes I had to leave to answer a call when it came to my radio. And as soon as I answered the call, I pulled my unit back up to the school and came back in to see you. A lot of times you couldn't see me, but I saw you. I said, I had a job to do as a father. I took an oath in the community to protect lives and property. But my job was to make sure that God had given you children to us. It was my job and your mother's job to make sure you got the best chance to live through a good, safe childhood and be promoted to young adult. And after that point, your decision about how you live was up to you. I said, we did that. I have no regrets. I would do it all over again. I said, given what I see right now, I probably would be a stronger disciplinary parent from what I see right now. And so I guess one of the things, when I look back over it, I could have maybe should have been a little more compassionate, but in terms of discipline. And but as I look at it, it's probably other things I would probably consider in a limited fashion.
Okay. 2 minutes for some closing remarks.
Okay.
Tell us why we should vote for you.
I'm confident what I just shared with you and much more, that my character, my integrity, my commitment to excellence, my hard work, my academic background, my work history, my dedication to the community, my dedication and commitment to my country, and my dedication and commitment to God, most importantly, gives me a foundation and has developed me in terms of my personality and my character to be a man that can be trusted and a man to get the job done and get the job done right the first time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bailey, for participating in the interview. Thank you to the listeners for listening. Be sure to check back again in the future for more candidate interviews. Have a good day. Remember to keep informed and keep involved.